Let me tell you guys about a leadership trap that nobody ever likes to warn you about. You can be winning, or at least feel like you're winning, or you're winning on paper. You're growing your revenue. You're building an epic team. You feel like, or at least it appears that you're hitting all your goals. You're getting recognition left, right, everywhere you look. But at the end of the day, you still kind of feel empty inside. Nobody ever tells you that the better that you get at leading your team, the more and more the finish line slowly disappears. As leaders, we never get to sit back at the end of the day and say, you know what, I'm done. Instead, we sort of kind of live in this gray area. And if you're not careful with living and leading in the gray, you will slowly be depleted. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Cultureproof Podcast. I am your host, Sam Gembel. If this is your first time tuning into the Cultureproof community, I just want to say welcome. We drop a new episode at least once per month with an occasional bonus episode. And this podcast was specifically built for leaders, owners, operators, managers, anybody who really cares deeply about building a strong team, building a strong culture, maybe being a better husband, being a better wife, being a better dad, being a better mom, but really, most importantly, have a business or an organization that can actually grow, survive, thrive without you having to be at the helm of everything going on there. So if you've been tuning in, thank you. I appreciate it. You guys are giving me something that I do not take lightly, which is your time. Know that I do not take that lightly. If you find value in the episode that we're going to share today, please do me a favor and share it with a leader, share it with a business owner, or share it with somebody who maybe you know just needs to hear it. That's how the message is going to continue to spread. That's how we're going to continue growing this community. And we're just going to keep on rocking and rolling. And you guys know that it's my goal that as leaders, when everybody gets better, we say it every episode, we all get to move forward together. Today, we're going to be talking about a leadership trap that nobody really warns you about. Kind of sort of why people that are leading maybe at a high level, at a mid-level, whatever level of leadership that you're at, there's always this feeling of unfulfilledness. Or maybe we can say it like this, as leaders, the goalpost always moves. And really, what can you do about it before the burnout kind of sneaks up on you? Let me give you a little bit of context behind the episode where this came from. I was actually in a conversation with another leader that I respect. And he was telling me that he is into woodworking, like he creates tables and all kinds of stuff, and pretty much anything that has to do with wood, countertops, you name it. And in that conversation we were talking about, or I asked him, I said, how did you get into doing that? And he said, Sam, it brings me this feeling of completedness when I can look at this finished product and say, I did that. And it kind of hit me because talking to him, it made me realize that as a leader that, I just want more out of myself and I want more out of the people that I lead. There really can be this sense of incompleteness, in the day to day. And so I got to thinking about that and it kind of opened up conversations that I would mention it to another leader, maybe somebody that I'm mentoring, maybe somebody that I'm coaching. And I realized this is a way bigger, I don't want to call it a problem, but this is a way bigger feeling that needs to be talked about. So I did a blog on this a few weeks back, and the amount of messages that I received about that blog made me realize I need to turn this into a podcast episode. So we'll get into it here. We're just about at the time that this podcast is being released. We're about just all the way through the first quarter of the new year. Spring is kind of sort of settling in. You can kind of get that feeling in the air. The bitter cold is kind of tapering off, but the busy part of our year is coming super fast. And I know this for sure because I talked to a lot of you that some of you are already kind of feeling the pressure build because you haven't actually taken action on the things that you said you were going to do this year. So all the goals that you wanted to do, maybe you wrote them down. They're just still kind of sitting there on the shelf or sitting there on your desk, or the SOPs that you said you wanted to build and implement, they're just still kind of half-baked. You haven't actually finished them yet. Or maybe the hard conversation that you said that you wanted to have with a crew leader or a team member, you haven't actually done it yet. And the calendar, whether we are ready or not, or we believe it or not, that calendar is moving. And if you haven't taken action yet on what you said you were going to do, we could be getting a little bit of trouble. And that is creating a lot of pressure, whether you realize it or not. So we've got building to do. We've got hiring to do. We've got selling to do. We've got problems from last year that we want to fix, all these things. And maybe you've been working on these things. Maybe you're actually one of the ones that's taken action on these things, but you still kind of feel behind. You still kind of feel like, man, there's just way more that I need to do. Or as I like to say, you're chasing something that really just continues to move. And then there's the go, 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 go mode, that constant push, the drive, the next thing, the next call, the next big ideas. And if I'm just kind of being honest and transparent here, there's kind of nights where for me, like, man, I'll just end the day and I just want to like plop my butt down on the couch and maybe catch an episode of Shark Tank or maybe a house show, whatever. But when I do this, I kind of get this little feeling in my head that will say to me, like, Sam, you should be doing something right now. Like, you can't just sit here and tune in on an episode of Shark Tank. Who do you think you are? You've got building to do. You got a team that you got to lead. You need to be planning that vision out for the new year. You need to be learning something new. You need to be reading a book, whatever. You need to be recording another podcast or on a Zoom call, whatever. And what happens is the rest, or that little, kind of end of the day kind of wind down, it starts to feel like we're wasting time. And that right there, that is a trap, because when you believe that you're supposed to be finished, the problem is you'll never feel like you've done enough to earn that rest. So before we kind of get into the takeaways here that I want you guys to really, really consider, I want you guys to get your notepads ready. And I want to talk about why this happens. Why do us as high achieving leaders, why is it that people who are winning at their leadership, or us, if we feel like you're winning at your leadership, why is it that we always feel unfinished? And this is just kind of what I've kind of learned and what I've just been kind of journaling on this. It's not because we're ungrateful. It's not because you're broken. It's not because you're never satisfied. It's really because your identity shifted. At some point in your leadership, your identity shifted. What do I mean by that? When you were in the field, maybe when you first started your business, and obviously at the core of this podcast, I do own a landscape company, so that's kind of where my background begins. So this episode, or all these episodes, are not necessarily just for service companies or landscape companies, but so just if you're in a different industry, maybe you're a painter or electrician, you can kind of relate to what we're going to talk about. But I want to go back. When we're in the field, your identity was built on production. What do I mean by that? When you got a job done, when you finished, let's say, cutting a lawn, you could see it, you could touch it, you could measure your progress, and you were rewarded with the job that you did with visible proof. What do I mean by that? You get done mowing a lawn. Y'all know what I mean. You get done. You can see your stripes. You can see the nice clean edge when you just got done. The customers come out and say, wow, Sam, what a great job that you did. Or maybe if you're in the snow and ice industry, you get done plowing a lot and you lay down the salt afterwards and voila, you see the blacktop. I know for me, I would get done, when I used to run a salt route, I would get done and I would go do a couple jobs and I would drive back by my jobs to see how nice and black and wet that the parking lot looked. I know some of you are listening to this going, yep, I still do that today. Or maybe if you're in the hardscape world, you install a patio and, the job gets done and you're walking it with the homeowner and you get to see the finished product. You get to talk about how much, the client appreciates it, whatever. your brain loves that. Your brain loves that sense of completion. And our dopamine, it's kind of a dopamine hit. Your dopamine fires when all the efforts, all the work that we put in leads to a clear result. And I'll tell you guys, as leaders, we are actually naturally addicted to that dopamine hit. We are addicted to seeing those results. But here's the thing that where this episode kind of comes from. As you grow as a leader, as your organization begins to grow, as you become a leader of leaders, guess what? That reward system, it changes. It changes. Now you're becoming a leader that operates in what I would kind of refer to as like a delayed gratification zone. What do I mean by a delayed gratification zone? Or maybe you already get it, but we'll kind of put it into context here. As a leader of leaders that's growing an organization, you are making decisions today that might not pay off for years from now. Years from now. You're investing into people, you're planting seeds of growth, who may not actually fully bloom until after you're gone. You might not even be around by the time that they come to be the leader at the level that you want them to be. And when your brain is wired for that immediate production, that immediate gratification, and your new leadership role kind of starts to demand that long-term patience. We plant seeds today that might not grow for years. All of a sudden what happens is we develop this internal tension with ourselves. And if you don't understand where that tension is coming from, here's what I don't want you guys to miss. You'll actually think that there's something wrong with you. You'll actually think like, man, I'm failing. I'm just not accomplishing what I want to accomplish. But I don't want you guys to miss this. And that's what this episode is all about. There's nothing wrong with you. What that tension is, that just means that you've moved from being an operator in your organization to actually being a builder. You move from being an operator to being a builder. If you're taking notes, write that down. I am going from being an operator to being a builder. And guess what? Builders live in the gray, y'all. As builders, we live in the gray. We lead in the gray. Now, here's what separates where I'll refer to as the 1% of leaders. Here's how they kind of separate themselves. An average leader or somebody who's kind of new into their leadership journey, they might wake up in the morning and say, you know what? What do I need to fix today? What fire is burning in my business or in my organization? What's not done that I need to get done today? Where the top 1% of leaders, they'll actually wake up asking, you know what progress can I lock in today? Or maybe it's something like, who can I develop today that I know needs it? What system can we improve today? If you're a new leader, average leader, you might kind of wake up chasing your completion and to get that dopamine hit through the activity or through the task that you knock off your list. I know for me, I am a check off your list leader. And I'm actually trying to get better at that because I realize that as I grow and as I develop, like I don't have as many things on my daily checklist. In fact, I would probably argue that I could get most of my tasks done in the first few hours of the day. And then what? You know what's going to happen? I'm going to spend the latter part of my day feeling like I'm, spinning my tires or not getting anything done. The 1% of leaders, they create completion through the design, through the vision, where, new leaders or somebody who's kind of, just getting into the journey kind of tends to lead their lives more reactively, kind of responding to those gaps. I've seen this before in team members who, I've been coaching and developing, where they almost kind of start to lose this sense of identity as the organization grows. And they just don't have as many problems to fight like they did before when they were just getting in. They were finding their value through the constant firefighting. But as you kind of get away from that, if you're not careful, you can feel like, man, I just don't know where my value comes from. And so you have to get away from understanding that as a leader of leaders or as a growing leader, you have to get your energy from building capability. And there's a shift there that needs to happen. As a 1% leader or somebody who wants to grow into an enterprise leader, you don't need to see stripes in the lawn every day. I'm referring to my lawn and landscape peeps here. You have to get satisfaction from knowing that your people can actually stripe a lawn or finish a landscape or plow and salt a parking lot, whatever that looks like, without them. And that is a different kind of completion. And I'm telling you right now, you have to understand something that most leaders never learn, that never kind of grow away from that, is that this is what will keep you stuck. This is what will keep you leading at a field level, because you're only chasing the visible results. And if you only chase the visible results, you will actually, without maybe even realizing it, but maybe you're doing it right now, you are going to avoid the invisible work. But here's what I don't want you guys to miss. It's the invisible work that actually builds the legacy. It's the stuff that you don't see. And here's kind of the deep truth to that. When your mind is trained to start looking at what's not done, you know what's going to happen? You will rarely feel done. You will rarely feel like you're completing anything. When your identity gets tied to the production, tied to the stripes, tied to the parking lot, delegating the work actually feels like you're losing. It actually feels like you're losing. But when your reward system is built for speed, when it's built like, let me see how fast I can get this job done, patience and actually enjoying the journey, it actually feels like you're failing. And that's why successful growth without some form of a system that makes you feel like you're completing something, that turns into exhaustion. That's the gray area that we're talking about here. And it's not because you can't handle the pressure of that, but it's because your soul, your internal compass, has just never given you permission to land. It's never given you permission to stop and land and say, I did something. And that's the difference between new leaders, people that are just kind of, starting to grow, and we'll call it the 1% leaders, is that the 1% leaders actually build landing spots, landing pads. The 1% leaders actually build systems that create finish lines. They build spots to celebrate progress intentionally. They design their lives and their leadership so that their ambition and that drive and that hustle actually has a place to rest. So if you pause the episode right here, we're a few minutes in, maybe you need to re-listen to that before we get into the takeaways. But this is the part right here. I'm hoping that you guys have a pen and paper and can put these things into place, into action in your leadership. Okay, takeaway number 1. Don't forget, the goalpost always moves. The goalpost always moves. As leaders, we are wired to build. So when you're wired to build, the goalpost, the second you get somewhere, the second you get to a point where you want to be in your leadership, guess what happens to the goalpost? It moves. Yep. That is not a flaw. That is not something wrong with you that you're always moving the goalpost. That's actually a gift to be able to do that. But here's what happens. You hit a goal, you hit where you want to be, and then as soon as you hit it, you move it. Maybe for you, that's, you hit your first $1 million in revenue, and that was a goal for you. But then now you move the goalpost because you want to hit 3. So then you hit 3 million in revenue, and you know what? What's next? Now you move it to 5 million in revenue. You get what I'm doing there? You just keep moving the goalpost. But now you build a team. You're getting the team that you want. You're getting the leadership team in place that you want. But what's next? You want a stronger team. Yeah, you just keep moving the goalpost, and you never actually let yourself experience completion because you're always moving the goalpost. But when you never experience completion, you heard what I said when we were kind of getting into this episode, our brain never lands. And here's a line that I want you guys to hear, that I don't want you guys to miss this. High achieving leaders, they don't burn out from losing. No, they do not burn out from losing. They're building incredible enterprise organizations. but they actually burn out from never feeling finished. And what do I mean by that? You can be winning on paper, the $1 million goal, the $3 million goal, the $5 million goal, building the team, building the systems, kind of working yourself out of a job. But what happens is internally, you actually lose your peace with yourself. So if you don't pause and create milestones of growth and celebrate those milestones of growth, here's what I don't want you guys to miss. Your brain starts believing that there's never enough. There's never enough. And guess what happens? You end up becoming one of those workaholics. You end up becoming one of those leaders who maybe on the surface you're achieving incredible success, but it's never enough. So you always feel like there's got to be more. Don't miss that. Number 2, our results are delayed. As a 1% leader, the results that you crave, they are always delayed. When you're in the field, remember, you see the results quick. Cut the grass, you're done. Plow and salt the parking lot, it's all melted, it's done. Landscape install, patio install, you start it, you design it, you start it, and bam, it's done. Just like that. But when you're a leader, when you are a culture-proof leader, you are investing in a person today. You're investing in the people that look to you as the leader. And you might not see the fruit of that for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. You're building culture in your organization, but that culture might not actually kind of start to stabilize itself for 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. I have people I've gotten hundreds of messages where people will talk about, Sam, in your business, you guys will do the team member of the month, or I see you guys doing the lunches or the breakfast with your team, or you're taking them to a park and doing a family day. And man, Sam, I've tried that. None of it works. I'm like, okay, well, how many times did you try it? Well, that's an expensive thing, and it takes a lot of work to plan for that. So, I did it once, but everybody kind of almost thought that it was like a joke. Like we did it, we did the breakfast, we did the lunch. I started trying to do the team member of the month, and actually we did the team member of the month, and everybody kind of made fun of the person that got it and called them a brown noser. And so, man, I went away from that. But that's the thing. It's all about consistency. You have to do it over and over again, and eventually it will just become the culture that you want. And that's hard. That's hard because we want that instant gratification. That's kind of how we wired ourselves. Or what about this? We cast the vision in our organizations. Where do we want to be in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? But we don't really see it kind of materialize itself or come to life right away. And that's a problem because we want to see that instant gratification. So many leaders struggle creating that vision because it's years out. I've actually started when I'm working with a business owner or a business leader. We used to talk about, hey, the 3 year, 5 year, 10 year vision, because our world has been wired to see results so quick. I've actually started scaling that back, and I lead with, where do you want your business to be at in max 3 years? And here's why. It's because, look at technology now. We have anything we want really right at our fingertips. You guys don't even have to dive into details there, but that same kind of, I want it and I want it now, that doesn't create greatness. But that's kind of how we're wiring our businesses and wiring our way to think. And that is making this new generation of leaders struggle with being patient to see where that 5 year, 10 year can kind of lead to your business. So here's where we'll kind of go deeper with that. I once heard somebody said this to me, that leadership is like planting a tree that you'll never get to enjoy the shade of. I want you guys to think about that for a second. This is a good reference for landscapers. You dig the hole, you plant the tree in the ground, you water it, you protect it, but really someone else 20, 30, 50 years from right now, 100 years from right now, they're going to be the ones that are going to get to sit and enjoy the shade under that tree. And that right there, that is leadership. That is what leadership looks like. And if you're not careful, you'll actually start to resent the tree. You'll start thinking to yourself, when do I get my shade? When do I get mine? I'm the one that's doing all the work. When do I get to enjoy it? Don't miss this. Leadership requires you to delay gratification in a world that rewards instant results. If you're taking notes, go ahead. You can write that down. We are living and leading in a world that will require you, if you want to achieve greatness, if you want to be a 1% leader, that is going to require you to delay gratification. And that's hard for people. But when you trade the production for influence and growth of others, that's where you trade your speed, for one of my favorite words as a leader of leaders, for significance. That's where you trade your speed for significance. And you know what I've learned about significance, y'all? It takes a lot longer for you to see it. And the gray is where the best visionary leaders live. But it's also where the burnout hides. Number 3, hope you guys are keeping up with me here. Create short-term wins inside of that long-term vision. So yes, we know where we want our business to be in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. We know where we want to be. We've created the vision. I want to build a $10 million company, or maybe you lead a nonprofit and you were like, I want 1,000 baptisms. I want 1,000 people to come to know Jesus in my organization in the next 10 years. Okay, got it. So we've created the vision. How are we going to get there now? So we're creating the roadmap, or maybe we're kind of writing the narrative backwards, but you can't get so fixated on that $10 million goal or that, leading 1,000 people to Jesus. We have to create short-term wins inside of that. So if all your goals are 3 years out, 5 years out, 10 years out, you're going to always feel like you're behind. So you have to break that down. You have to set, maybe it's quarterly targets or monthly targets. Heck, you can even break this back to weekly targets, but this is how they play out into the long-term vision. I actually do this with business owners that I mentor or coach is and if you're listening to this and you know where I'm going with this, but we actually have, when we're creating what we want their revenue to be for the year. So let's just say, for the sake of easy math, this company wants to do 1.2 million. So that's easy math. We can break that down. Do the math. If you want to do 1.2 million, that breaks down to about $100,000 in revenue per month. So we're just going to hinge this on the revenue is consistent over 12 months, because we don't need to get too granular on the math there. But if it's $100,000 a month and we're reviewing financial progress every month, if we do 110,000 in January, we're already a little bit ahead in February. So we can celebrate that. But if we're a little bit behind in January, we know we got to bump up February a little bit. So we're going to push a little harder. Maybe we're going to have a crew work an extra day, whatever that looks like, but we're going to celebrate it in February. But what leaders don't realize, but I see this because I've been at this for so long, is that a year goes by, and when you look back at where you were a year ago, you're like, holy crap, I didn't realize how far I've come. And honestly, y'all, for me personally, this was about 12 years into my leadership journey before I really kind of like, we would started having people come visit our facility, and they would come and be like, wow, I've never seen a team perform like this. And when you're living it and leading it daily, we kind of take it for granted sometimes. So we have to remind ourselves to celebrate wins in the short term. Don't just wait. We got to look at what does our culture look like? Maybe we're celebrating our culture, or we have to celebrate, more SOPs that get implemented. We have to have milestones. And if you don't celebrate even the shortest or smallest of wins, your brain will never believe that you're actually making progress. Here's another line if you guys want to write this down. This is a little note that I came up with here. Success without satisfaction is a slow leak in the soul. Success without satisfaction is a slow leak in the soul. Progress deserves recognition. Not because you're done. We're never done. We are never, ever done. But it's because completion fuels momentum, and that's what keeps us from that burnout. So the sense of completion that we actually got something done is what's going to keep us from burning out. Okay, hope you're still with me. Takeaway number 4, build personal finish lines, not just for the organization, personal finish lines. This one's hard. This one is hard. I'll tell you, even for me, this one's hard even for me. For many, many years, I'm going to grab a drink of my coffee here. Hold on one second. This is a raw episode, so pause for a quick coffee drink. Oh, that's good. That's good. So the personal finish lines. This one was hard for me. For many, many years, for me, honestly, y'all, I didn't have hobbies. I didn't have something to do. Like everything I did was work, something related to business. Yes, we had, I had my date nights with my wife, or my son, has been playing travel soccer pretty much since he can walk. And our daughter has been in band and theater and music. And there's been, plays and productions and festivals and all that. I get that. Like I think I've done a pretty good job at not missing out on my kids' milestones, but those aren't hobbies. Those are blessings. Those are things that we get to do. Those are not finish lines for our personal growth. So let me tell you a little bit about me. Recently, I actually started cooking Sunday dinners for my family. Why? Why did I start doing that? My wife is a phenomenal cook, and she takes great care of us, and we love to eat. And but why did I start doing the Sunday dinners? Well, for one, because I love to serve. And so why did I start doing this? I get to prep the meal. I get to start it. I get to cook it. Maybe I'm smoking a pulled pork, whatever, that some ribs, or making something on the grill, whatever. But I get to prep the meal. I get to cook it. We sit down as a family, and we all get to enjoy it. Bam, done. It gives me a sense of completion personally. Or I'll talk about with my son. My son has recently really, really gotten hardcore into fishing, like loves to fish, which is great because we live on a lake. So it's good that he loves to fish. But same thing with fishing. You cast, you bait the hook, you cast it out, you wait, and then you catch something. And this is even more awesome if we can go out on the Great Lakes or go out down in Florida, because we can actually eat what we catch. So there's a double win there. But here's what I don't want you to miss. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. Even something simple. I've had people say to me before, because I love washing our vehicles. And I've had people say, Sam, you always talk about time back, or, time buyback, or know what your value is. Why wouldn't you just have somebody come and detail your cars for you? You can afford to have that done. But there's a sense of completion washing vehicles. I can put music on and relax. And when I'm, deep diving into washing my truck or my wife's vehicle, like there's a sense of starting it, working on it, drying it off when I'm done, putting the tire shine on, and there's a sense of completion there. Maybe it's something like organizing the garage, or even for me, you guys know that I love to write or record podcast episodes. Same thing. When my producer says, Sam, your podcast episode is live, there's a sense of completion there for me personally. So that's kind of a win-win, because the blogging is something that I get to journal, note, write, and release. There's a sense of completion. The podcast, same thing. Take notes, sit down at my computer, prep, write, and then I get to release it. And my brain gives me that proof that I've completed something. So sometimes what I've learned, that the most productive thing that we can do as leaders is just finish something, even if it's small. Finish something even if it's small. And this is not just for our businesses. This is for us personally too. They both are equally important. Don't miss that. Just remind yourself that progress has an ending, even if it's those short milestones. Don't miss that. Okay, takeaway number 5. Last one. Schedule your recharge time. Schedule your recharge time, whatever that looks like for you, however you find your best sense of recharge. Schedule it, or you will collapse into it. I'm going to pause there for a sec. If you don't schedule your recharge, you'll be forced to do it. If you're tired, you guys have heard me talk about this before. If you're tired, you can take a nap. If you're depleted and there's nothing left, that's dangerous, because at that point, you're not good for anybody. Most of you guys that have known me long enough, you guys know that I'm a pretty high energy dude. I go pretty hard. I wake up in the morning and God has just wired me to live my life on purpose, for a purpose. And I go hard from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. My wife, she gets concerned if I'm quiet. She gets concerned if I'm quiet, if I'm not talking. She knows there's something wrong. Or if all of a sudden I go from, I'm a pretty loud dude, but if all of a sudden from speaking loud, I start to speak really softly, that's kind of a code red for her or for my team. Or worse than that, if I'm not talking at all, or if I'm just kind of spaced out, that's like a sound the alarm, code red, emergency that, hey, Sam needs a recharge. He needs to take his butt down to Florida and get on a boat for a little bit, and just, even if it's just for a day, but just clear my mind and repeat that. It's important to us. But even those things like the date nights and all that, like, those are recharges for me. So I notice when I get out of my rhythm, I'm in trouble. And that's the problem, is that most leaders don't plan recovery. They don't plan the recovery. They end up crashing into it. They push themselves, they grind hard, they build, but all of a sudden, you know what happens? Their body or their marriage, it forces them to reset. The ambition that we have to grow as leaders, that's a gift. That is a gift from God. I will say that ambition is a gift from God. But if you're taking notes, don't miss this. Unmanaged ambition, that's a thief. I'll pause there for a sec. Ambition is a gift from God. Unmanaged ambition is a thief. And if you don't build rhythms of recovery, you will start chasing a break. You will start chasing a break. If I just sell this one more job, I can take a break. Or maybe you're wanting to sell your business. If I just sell my business, then I can take a break. Or if I just hit this revenue target or hire this guy, then I can take a break. But the problem, it's not the business. The problem is that you've never taught yourself how to experience completion. We talked about that earlier on in this episode. You've never taught yourself how to experience some form of completion. So you have to tie those milestones into your business, or I'm telling you guys, you're on a path to disaster, and it's going to end up forcing you at one point in time. As we kind of tie a bow on this episode here, I want to give you something to kind of remember it by. So if you're listening to this episode and maybe you took notes, maybe you didn't take notes, this is probably one of those episodes that you need to go back and listen to it a few times and make sure you're taking notes and start working on documenting those things. But if you take away one thing from this, and maybe this is the part where you've kind of spazzed out going through the first half of it, and this is where you're at right now, this is what I don't want you guys to miss. You are not tired in your business because you're failing. You are not tired because you're failing. You're tired because you never feel finished. That's a whole different problem. As leaders, we have to understand, when you are in that 1% leader of leaders where you want more out of life, you want more for your people, you're going to live and you're going to lead in the gray. You're gonna lead in the gray. That's the nature of being a leader, because that goalpost, that finish line, it's always moving. But you do not have to live there without having some form of a rhythm to make sure that you don't burn yourself out. So let's go back through the top 5 items really, really quick here. So I want to make sure you guys don't miss them. Number 1, we want to remember the goalpost always moves. The goalpost always moves. So if you don't pause and acknowledge the process throughout the way, your brain is going to keep telling you that nothing is ever enough. Celebrating those milestones, even as small as they might be, it's not a weakness. It is strategic. Those celebrations are strategic. Number 2, as leaders, our results are always going to be delayed, especially if they're big results. If they're quick and instant, they're probably not going to lead to anything big. So as high achieving leaders, our results are always going to be delayed. The guy we're training to run a crew, he might not be a crew leader for 2 years, but you know what? When he does eventually become a crew leader, he's going to be one of the best of the best. And guess who cultivated and created him? You did. You're the one that can look back and say, I did that. I cultivated that guy. And they'll never forget that. We are planting trees we might not ever sit under. So I need you guys to stop judging your long-term impact with these short-term expectations. When we trade production for influence, we are trading our speed for significance. When we trade production for influencing and growing others, we are sacrificing speed of the instant results for significance. Number 3, we have to create short-term wins inside of the long-term vision. Break it down, whether that's weekly, quarterly, monthly, whatever. We have to lock in the progress, because if we never celebrate where we're at in our journey, we will internally start to convince ourselves that we're losing. Number 4, build personal finish lines, not just for the business. We need to build personal finish lines too, whatever that looks like. Go catch the fish, cook the meal, go play a round of 18 holes of golf, or write a blog, create a podcast, clean your garage, wash your vehicles, whatever it is. Our brains need proof that effort leads to completion. I'm telling you guys right now, sometimes the most productive things that we can do as leaders is just finish something small. Everything doesn't have to be so big. Something small, write the SOP, train the employee, whatever. Just give yourself that sense of completion. And number 5, and don't miss this, and maybe this is where you're at as a leader right now, and this is the most important one. Schedule yourselves some recharge time. As I'm recording this episode and it's getting ready to be released, me and my wife are getting ready to celebrate our 20-year anniversary. Oh my goodness, who would have thought? 20 years married to my best friend. And I'm like, man, babe, we should do something really, really cool for our anniversary. And those of you that know me, like, we are as creatures of habit as it gets. Like, we do the same things, we eat the same meals, we go to the same restaurants, we vacation to the same place, our beloved Florida. And when we were planning, something for our 20 year, we have so much going on right now between family, between business, between, activities, leadership, coaching, speaking. I mean, the calendar looks like a rainbow of colors because there's so many things to do. And my wife was like, maybe we should just do our 20 year, maybe we should just celebrate something later on this year. We've got so much going on. And I just was like, man, we need this. We need to do something. So we're going on a great little extended vacation here in the next couple weeks, and we're going to celebrate that. And it's going to be amazing. So just don't forget that. Schedule your recharge, or I mentioned this earlier, you will collapse into it. Recovery is not a reward. Recovery from go, it is actually a responsibility for us. That ambition, remember we said this earlier, that ambition that God has given us, it's a gift. That ambition is a gift, and that's probably why you're achieving what you're achieving. But if it's left unmanaged, it will be a thief of our life. Let me go one layer deeper with this. If you do not build those rhythms of completion into your life and into your leadership, you will secretly want to escape. You will secretly want to escape. If you don't build those wins and that recharge time into your leadership, you will secretly want to look for something different in life. What do I mean by that? We will actually start to resent the very same thing that we once prayed for. We will actually look at our team, and instead of feeling proud of what they're accomplishing, we'll actually be irritated by them. That's a problem. We'll hit numbers in our businesses, but we'll still feel empty or unfulfilled. And then all of a sudden, you know what'll happen? We'll think that our problem is scale. We just haven't scaled enough. We just need more. Or we need more staff, or maybe it's the market, whatever. But the problem, it was never the business. The problem was never, ever at the core of it, ever the business. The problem was that you never gave yourself permission to experience done. And here's the line that I want you guys to walk away from this episode with. I know you guys have been taking notes on this one. Success without completion will slowly steal your joy. Write that down. Success without completion will slowly steal your joy. You do not have to stop being ambitious. Don't miss that. I want you to be ambitious. I want you to be driven. I want you to make the sales, hire the team, build $1 million, $3 million, $5 million, $10 million, 1,000 member church, whatever that looks like. You don't need to stop being ambitious. Please don't. That will be an excuse for regression. But you just need places where that ambition can land itself and enjoy it. Plant a tree. Get that tree in the ground and then trust that shade will come someday. Not for you. The shade will come someday, but maybe it's not for you. Build the system. Create the SOPs. Develop the people. Develop the leaders. But also finish something. Celebrate something. Protect something. Because you are not just building a company. You are not just building an organization. You are building a life. You are building a life. And the 1% of leaders, they understand this. They don't just build results. They build rhythms. And those rhythms are what sustains greatness. You know what? Here's a win you can log. Here's something that you can chalk up as completed. Today, you guys got a little bit better. You can write that down as a win. Today, you got a little bit better. I'll see you guys next time. Be blessed.